All right, we got to get one thing straight. If you guys are going to continue to use the internet, to use these trade machines, and then propose them to me or to anybody, and you try to tell me, I really like this trade. I like it when the trade for this player is centered around player X. Centered is a definitive point. Nothing can physically be centered around anything. It is centered on. Stop being grammatically illiterate. Great. Now we've gotten the hard part out of the way. I know that some of you are already going to be racing to the comments and be like, wow, Damian Lillard doesn't have any leverage. He's not going to be traded. Listen, I think it's important to note, first of all, in the year of our Lord 2021, the leverage argument bananas to me. Because if you want to use recent memory as an example, you look at Kawhi, and although he did have leverage, Greg Popovich was just like, oh, you want to be traded? Boom, different country. Anthony Davis, he had leverage. Pell's got a king's ransom for him. We're somehow going to tie some of that back into what we're talking about today. But James Harden had literally none whatsoever in the middle of this massive contract, still had multiple years left, and the Rockets were just like, duh, we're going to get nothing in return for James Harden, and other teams are going to get, like 3 other teams are going to get better, and we're just going to get worse. How did this happen? Like, this could so easily just be a case of somebody being like, oh, look, there's some smoke, just because somebody else said that there was smoke, and then when you ask them, wait a minute, where's the fire? They're like, duh, I don't know where the fire actually is. I just saw the... Anyways, just because like everything going on in Portland right now, it just kind of makes you look at the situation and you're like, well, Dame's always talked about how loyal he is. Like, we're going to find out how loyal he actually is. It's like, how much does Dame actually owe to Portland now? Like, if they're just going to be dumb, if Neil Olshey is just going to be a perpetual moron for his entire tenure, at some point your star player is going to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's called player empowerment, folks. And you know what? It's awesome. Albeit remarkably terrifying. So a lot of you guys have tried to throw out some of your fake trades. I asked you guys for some on Twitter. I'm actually not going to read them specifically here because it was mainly just a bunch of things that I've kind of already read about. So we're just going to kind of go down the list and talk about why these trades are really stupid to me, or like why. Like, okay, let's start with the first one, Kevin Love. There seems to be this world where people think that Kevin Love, whether it be in a straight up deal with Portland or they circumvent his contract, avoiding it in some 3-team deal, but then someone's going to get started. You realize the only way that Kevin Love gets traded at any point during the contract that he's currently in is if Kobe Altman finally bites the bullet and is like, all right, fine, we're not going to get anything for Kevin Love. I'm also realizing, even though I did say a 3-team trade, I am specifying that specifically for the sake of Damian Lillard because the Cavs are not getting Damian Lillard. This is like some weird thing. Like, a lot of people are like, somehow Kevin Love could get rerouted and Damian Lillard gets sent to like Philadelphia or something like that. So just for the sake of it, like the impasse that Cleveland has reached with Kevin Love and his contract is Kobe Altman. And if I've talked about this a few times, if you've been following me for a long time, I've spoken about this, but like, Kobe Altman views Kevin Love as an asset that he should be rewarded for. Other teams view Kevin Love as not that much of an asset, but a contract that they should be compensated for even taking on their books in the first place. And so that's where, like, if you remember, it was like a year and a half ago when all these Kevin Love to Portland rumors started because it was like this hometown thing, I think, and it was like whatever. And then it fell apart because of what I just said. And then I did have a few like meme replies and a few people who I'm pretty sure were being serious. They throw together the Taylor Horton Tucker, the KCP, the Kyle Kuzma, and whatever nonsense. We need to talk about Kyle Kuzma in your trade packages. I swear to God, the way that I view Kyle Kuzma in all your NBA trade packages is who was that little blue lizard that lived in Cat Dog's house on Nickel? Who was that? He wasn't a lizard. He was a rat. He was a mouse. The way that they just, I don't understand. What was his name? Winslow. Why did they let Winslow live in the house? You know how many, it was always something going on with him. He would always just like come out and be like, hey, did you guys eat my leftovers in the fridge? Like there was always something. And it was like, stop letting this guy live in the cracks of your wall. Your lives would be so much easier if he was gone. That's how I view Kyle Kuzma and his trade value. So stop putting him, and because if a Kyle Kuzma trade is for anything more than like Alex Caruso, we're going to move on. The Boston thing is weird because there seems to be a sense of confusion with how Damian Lillard would end up with Boston because people are like, oh my gosh, Damian Lillard, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum, they would run the East. Yeah, but that's not how this works because you realize that if Boston is going to acquire Damian Lillard, they are losing one of the aforementioned two. Who of which that would be is entirely up to you because I wouldn't really want to make that decision. I would probably say trade Jaylen Brown, but it's this weird thing where it's like, but if you want to have this defensive identity for this team that defensively was just kind of all over the place last year, I just don't think losing your best two-way player, your best defensive wing, is that really going to make you better? Because I know that some people think that Jaylen Brown is better than Jason Tatum, and it's like I just feel like that dynamic is ultimately going to be better. And I know Boston's been this weird thing where they're like, we can't find a point guard, but it's like, is this really the route that you want to go? Because I would rather just like roll the dice with. I don't want to say roll the dice with Peyton Pritchard because as awesome as he was, like that just doesn't. That's not the needle mover. Because if it wasn't Kemba Walker, it's certainly not Peyton Pritchard. But that whole thing is weird. It would be nice if Danny Ainge. No, Danny Ainge is gone. I say that like he passed. Danny Ainge he's going to be with like Utah in a few weeks. Brad Stevens. Well, I guess we don't know that much about Brad Stevens. Is he the type to balk at every single I don't think the Boston thing is real. Is that going to age poorly? Maybe I'll cut this. Like, just think it was like 7 months ago that we were talking about Ben Simmons for James Harden. Like, that was a real. That's why it was so fun to me when everybody's crapping on Ben Simmons as soon as the Sixers season wrapped, which, like, I totally get why. But it's like all of this trade value that you think a player has, why don't you wait, like, 1 or 2 or 3 weeks after their season has ended, then come back to it later, because I promise you it's more than you think it is. It's more than just like a 2-liter Faygo. And not all of you guys are from Michigan, you idiots, unless you're an ICP fan, which I'm not. Why do I always do this? So I just wonder, if you look at another leverageless situation, is there going to be a team who's like gonna outbid Ben Simmons? Wow, what a banana sentence. Yes. A team will, who could outbid Philadelphia? I think Denver could, and I think New Orleans could. New Orleans, see, this is what I do, ladies and gentlemen. I told you we were going to get back to this, even if it was inadvertent. You look at Brandon Ingram, who just signed a contract extension, so it's like, okay, he's off the rookie scale deal, so now there's a little bit of money to play around with. Could they somehow get off of Steven Adams in the process? Well, maybe, because Nurkic said that if Dame is gone, then so is he, so maybe there's something that you can do there. I don't know. Plus whatever else you want to do. And it's like, well, if you're going to be losing Lonzo in free agency, which who knows what that's going to happen. New Orleans has like the best problem in the world. Like, imagine having too many good point guards that you just can't give minutes to. You have Lonzo, you have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and you have Kyra Lewis. Like, imagine that being your problem. I wish that was me, honestly. So that one's fun. The reason I say Denver is because the Jamal Murray, I don't know that it would be like a 1-for-1 swap. I think that, again, going back to the leverageless situation, I feel like Portland would be like, because you're going to have Damian, you're not concerned with re-signing him within your little championship window. I feel like they would probably be like, give us Michael Porter Jr., and that would be the sweetener. And I know Nuggets fans are just going to be like, well, we own all of our picks. Pretty sure they do. We have Aaron Gordon. You can have Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray is not going to, get the job done. I feel like, and you're going to be like, what about Bull? You know, when I threw out, I was like, let's get weird. Let's talk about Oklahoma City. But I don't think that would make sense, because I don't want to say it would be a lateral move for Oklahoma City because it's Damian freaking Lillard. But it would feel incredibly weird, because if all these reports are even remotely true and they're like, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander doesn't fit our timeline. If a 22-year-old doesn't fit your timeline as the Oklahoma City Thunder, then I have no idea what Damian Lillard would do to it. That's like you just put yourself in a time machine. Do you think there's a world where Ayton re-signs with Phoenix and Chris Paul's gone, he's maybe retired or something, this is a few years down the line, and maybe Mikal Bridges re-signs and he's got some money to play around with, and Phoenix stockpiles whatever else? Do you think that Phoenix just tries to do what they did with Chris Paul with Damian Lillard? And again, this is a few years down the line, assuming nothing happens with him and he stays in Portland and whatever. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing this out there. I don't know. That would be interesting. A lot of people said Miami, too. You guys think Tyler Hero is really cute. You guys think that Precious Achiuwa is really interesting. You guys think that Andre Iguodala is still really interesting. Great dude. I love Andre Iguodala. I had a conversation with him once. Really, really nice dude. He was very, very nice to me. But that trade package stinks. I don't know. I think there are a lot of trades that for Damian Lillard that I think could be fun. I'm sure I've missed a few. But I just feel like for the most part, all these are just bleh. It was all gross. I don't know. There's a Godfather offer. I'd say there's probably 3 teams that could make a Godfather offer for Damian Lillard. And I think that's even a stretch. I don't know about Godfather. I think New Orleans is the most fun because they have the most capital to play around with, even though some of it belongs to the Lakers, and that's going to depreciate. It already is depreciated. The second it was traded, it was meaningless.